welcome to the Life Leadership Podcast with me, Leila Singh. This is the place where ambitious business professionals come to level up in their career and life. Here, we explore powerful strategies for leadership development. We dive into career and personal mastery, mental fitness, and building a standout personal brand. So if you're ready to play a bigger game and unlock your hidden potential to thrive in this fast evolving world of life and business, then you're in the right place. So let's dive in. What we're looking at today is mastering your state. In other words, how to exude executive presence under pressure. Let me ask you a question. Are you finding it challenging to stay calm, to stay clear-headed, to stay focused, maintain your confidence when it matters the most? Especially if you're dealing with a demanding client or a challenging situation, perhaps tough negotiations or delivering a critical presentation. Here's the thing with this. When you can master managing your state, it means it's easier for you to manage your confidence level and the perception that you're giving across to people, that you're composed, you're calm, and you have that level of gravitas, that presence. So people will want to gravitate towards you to listen to what you have to say. In other words, you're building your executive presence. This can be within your team, within your organization, or even within your industry. So when I talk about state, what do I actually mean? Well, when I talk about this, I mean your physical state, your mental state, and your emotional well-being at any point in time. Because with this, when we can manage this, then we're less likely to react to things. We're less likely to get stressed out and maybe say the wrong thing or just come across in a way that isn't, let's say, career advancing. And a big part of this is how we can then manage our stress effectively and at the same time maintain continued focus in what we are wanting to do, what we want to achieve, the conversation that we're having, and so forth. And what I want to bring to your attention, if this is something you're not familiar with, is that how we breathe can actually influence our state. So our breath control influences how we manage our internal state. And this can then affect how we present ourselves, how we're connecting with others, particularly if we're in pressurized or high visibility or high stakes scenarios and situations. And oftentimes over the years, when I've shared this, when I've seen someone who's getting really stressed, and I recommend to them, try a breathing technique, slow down and breathe. And I was talking to my partner about this the other day. It's like smoking. You know, a lot of people who have smoked in the past or maybe still do, if you think about the action that you're doing that has you feel really relaxed when you smoke, you're inhaling slowly and then you're slowly exhaling. So actually, if you remove the cigarette from the equation and you're simply breathing in slowly and breathing out slowly, it creates relaxation in your physiology. So if you're carrying any tension, for example, if let's say you're going to deliver a presentation, you're feeling a bit nervous and anxious, you're likely to be carrying some level of tension in your body, in your physiology. And it could be, for me, I know when I'm tense, when I'm anxious, it's usually tension carried around my neck and shoulders. So when I choose to then take a few deep breaths, it helps to relax me. My shoulders will drop a little bit, and people will pick that up. They won't necessarily be able to know specifically what is occurring, but when they look at you, when they engage with you, or when they're observing you, they'll sense that you're quietly confident, you're calm, your demeanor comes across as that everything's in control, you're all good. And that's the impression that you want to create when you're looking at your presence and the way that it's showing up in the workplace. So breathing is incredibly powerful. So that deep, slow breathing can make all the difference to helping you when it comes to managing your state. And we'll look at strategies later on today of how you can do this. So you're probably thinking, well, is this really important for me? Do I need to be listening to this? Is this going to help me in any way? Well, here's the thing. The impact it can make when you're managing your state, it can directly influence people's impressions of you. So the impression that you're making for other people, it can enhance your credibility, because people will, as I said, if you're in a pressurized situation, you can maintain your composure, you can stay calm and focused on the matter at hand. That will come across incredibly well for others. That's your credibility, your ability to lead, to manage, to not get frazzled or stressed and react as a consequence of that. And ultimately, it enables you to command greater respect, particularly with executive interactions or in executive interactions. So there's a lot of benefits to this. This is why it's crucial. If you're somebody who is looking to advance your career, to move up the ladder, to particularly to step into leadership, this is really important. And if it's something that you know can let you down on occasion, you really want to look at how you can incorporate these strategies that I'm going to share with you into your day-to-day. And another reason I just want to mention here about why managing your state is crucial, because it enables you to connect to being present. Everyone's talking about being present, being focused, being grounded, and managing your state is a way to connect to a calm and a managed state of presence, of gravitas. So being present and having a solid presence. And this enables you to then convey that authority and the confidence that will have other people listen up, take notice, gravitate to you, and also keep you top of mind, because you will be making an impact as a consequence of the way that you're showing up. These are some key reasons why it's really important to develop your presence and manage your state. So what happens if you don't manage your state? If you're someone who hasn't really considered this before, who hasn't had this brought to your attention, or you're someone, you find yourself getting really stressed or anxious, nervous, angry, frustrated, all of those emotions, which, by the way, it's okay to experience, but how do you manage them? It's important to recognize what happens if you do not manage your state. So that internal, as I said, that like the physiology of how you're showing up. So this can impact on your performance, because imagine if you're angry, you're frustrated, and you're not managing that, and then you're now taking that into your day-to-day work, your day-to-day conversations with colleagues, with managers. How is that going to impact you? How is it going to impact how you're perceived, and also those relationships? So think about how that unmanaged state can lead to, for example, reactive or defensive behaviors, perhaps. And ultimately, where those negative emotions come up and you're not managing them, it can diminish other people's perceptions of your level of professionalism and control. So this is why, again, coming back to people's perceptions of us, and you want them to remember you for the right reasons, this is how you learn to manage your state. And I mentioned earlier about stress and the impact that being in that stress mode can cause a lot of negative impacts to your health, to your well-being, to your mental health in particular. So if you don't have those techniques to regulate the stress that you're dealing with on a day-to-day level, this can result in burnout. It can impact both your personal life as well as your career, your professional life, and it can erode your performance over time as well. So there's a lot to be said for this. So managing your state isn't just about, okay, I've got to look like, I've got presence when I walk into a meeting, but otherwise it doesn't matter. It's about honing these, let's say, practices, strategies that will help you to manage your state throughout the day, every day, because it will hugely impact every area of your life in a positive way. And as I said, it's important to remember this isn't about suppressing. It's not about suppressing your emotions. It's about acknowledging them, recognizing them, but how are you managing that physically, from your physiology, from an internal basis. So what are some of the challenges that people have in managing the state? So some of the common hurdles that can create this is high pressured roles, where you're in demand from a lot of people chasing you for information, for work, for projects. It's high pressure, and this can create the stress. It can then have you maybe getting really worked up, angry, and then you could start being reactive. Think about competing priorities. We often have this in the workplace. again, this is another thing that can create the challenge around managing your state, because you've got so much going on. You might be going into overwhelm, and again, that stress starts to raise its head. And of course, most of us now work in a very fast-paced, dynamic environment. So all of these things are examples of what can make your managing your state difficult. And what I want to bring to our attention is that these challenges are real. Yes, they absolutely are. And if we intentionally master some techniques to manage that stress, those negative emotions that are coming up, and our physiology particularly, then that can set you apart from others. And I keep going back to physiology because that's where people will sense where you're carrying that stress, that frustration, that anger, maybe the way that you're then speaking, you're communicating as a consequence of that. So these are all little things. So somebody may not sit there and observe you and think, oh yeah, they're really stressed initially. But then if the way that you communicate, for example, or the way you react to something, the way that you walk into a room, if you're angry, if you're hacked off about something, think about it. If you've seen someone else do it, or even when you know you've done it yourself, how might that be coming across? You want to be able to manage and control that to a way that you're perceived as someone who is professional, who you can manage your emotions, and remember, not suppress them, but manage them. So benefits of doing this is the enhanced presence that I mentioned at the start. So better state management leads to a more authoritative, grounded, calm presence. It has you looking like you're in control, like you everything's under control. It's good, even though you might be juggling a million things. It can increase your impact in meetings. So when you have that groundedness, that when you have that presence, your impact will be enhanced in the way that you communicate. Also, if you're in negotiations, which can often be challenging, and again in presentations, how you come across in presentations. Let me ask you, have you ever had a time when you've observed a presenter on stage who they've got something really interesting to say, but you kind of sat there and you're thinking, they're not really confident in what they're saying, and maybe it leads you to then, in your own mind, question the accuracy of what they're saying, or whether they really believe what they're saying, and so forth. Is it really true? Because they've got that uncertainty about them, because maybe they're anxious, they're nervous standing up there, they just want to get it finished and sit back down. So think about when you might have observed that in other people. And this is where really managing your state when it comes to standing in front of an audience and delivering a presentation can position you well when you do this well. So another benefit for you of managing your state is cognitive clarity, because when you're not in that worked up, stressy, frustrated, or maybe angry state, you have more clarity because you're calm, you're confident, you're grounded, you've got more focus. And that means it helps with your improved decision making. As an example, your focus is better, which means you're more effective and productive, and you'll be able to harness your creative thinking more easily, and ultimately create a better well-being for you because it maintains your mental resilience. Again, when you're facing constant challenges and obstacles, it can be easy to get really frustrated, maybe throw your toys out the pram, get stressed with people and so forth, and be reactive. And this is where the resilience comes in. When you can manage your state, you'll become more resilient. You can deal with more of those challenges that come up in a better way. So it reduces your stress levels, and it makes those kind of situations more manageable for you. And as well, it also helps you to kind of preserve your energy more so that you can perform at your peak. You can be more effective, and you can be more productive and supportive to people around you because you're coming from that place. So of course you're probably thinking, well, okay, how do I even do this? I've mentioned breathing. So let's look at a few things you can do to really manage your state. And these are things, as I said, you do when you start by integrating them, maybe when you're going to deliver a presentation, or when you know you're going into a meeting and you're going to have to speak or contribute towards it. Perhaps if you're going into a meeting that could be challenging, perhaps it's going to see a client, All of those situations that maybe cause us a little bit of angst, of stress, of anxiety, nervousness, and so forth. This is where you really want to slow down for a moment and think about, how can I manage my state in this situation so that you can show up as your best self. The first one is breathing, as I said. So breathing from the diaphragm. So think about how you can take a long, slow, deep breath. Remember, I talked about how when people smoke a cigarette, you take a long, deep breath in, and then you slowly breathe out. So if we remove the cigarette from the equation, because that's not what I'm encouraging to do, but think about the practice of the breathing that you do there. Deep breaths will expand the diaphragm. So not the chest. We're not breathing from up here. We're breathing from below, like in the stomach area where the diaphragm is. And that will create a significantly calming effect on the body. And I recommend, if you think about 4 to 6 breathing, so what I mean by that is you inhale for the count of 4, hold for the count of 2, and then slowly exhale for the count of 6. And this enables you to have a very quick reset, let's say, of any stress or anxiety or tension that might be in the body at a point in time. So you inhale, hold for 2, and then slowly breathe out 6 for the count of 6. And you do that at least 3 times, and you will notice how now your physiology is a lot more relaxed. You will feel more grounded, more calm, more confident, and in control. So that's the first strategy. The second is body language awareness. So I've talked about this in a separate live before, but think about your posture and having open body language, because this projects more confidence, but it also helps your mind settle into a calmer state. So imagine, and again, think about if you've seen someone who's delivered a talk, someone who's stood in front of an audience, and they're nervous and they're anxious and they're tense, and they might be holding their hands like this, or they're like this. And I've seen people do this, by the way, and it's like, it gives away very quickly how nervous or tense or stressed somebody can be. So think about, again, when you do the breathing, it relaxes you, and then think about your posture, standing tall, again, gives you that level of confidence, helps you to manage that state. Shoulders down, head up, take those deep breaths, and have that open body language. So it shows that you're confident, and it also kind of signals that you're open to conversation, to engaging with people and so forth, which is what you want in the workplace. So body language awareness is important, and that's a whole other topic which I have touched on before, but if you have any questions, that again, pop them in the comments. The third is visualization. Visualization is incredibly powerful as a tool, and visualizing, for example, a positive outcome, or visualizing a steady self-image, an image of yourself before you're about to enter a challenging or a stressful or an anxious situation, for example, a presentation or seeing a client for the first time, or when there's some difficulties with a client, perhaps maybe you're entering into negotiations for a new contract or to renew one, all of those kinds of things. Visualize beforehand, visualize yourself being that calm, confident, grounded person. And if you can, and also visualizing the outcome. So visualizing yourself, if we take the presentation and you're feeling nervous about it, and also with presentation, something I say is familiarize yourself. So if you can, ahead of time, familiarize yourself with your environment, your surroundings that you will be presenting in. So for example, if it's in one of your meeting rooms at your office, then you can easily just pop in, have a look around, understand what the setup is going to be like. If you are going to a venue, a conference center or something, or a hotel meeting room, for example, where you're going to be presenting, if you can, whether it's Google it to find some photos of the venue and the meeting room, or just heading over beforehand, getting there early, just to familiarize yourself with the surroundings and the environment, will make a big difference, and it can help you to just visualize. You only have to visualize for a few seconds, so it's not like you need to know the day before. Even if you get there half an hour early and pop into the room, have a look around, understand the setup, so you know what to expect when you go in, you can go in with that confidence. Visualization of how you're going to stand, where you're going to move around in that room and so forth, and where the audience will be. That's an example of visualizing the positive outcome and how you're delivering a really compelling and engaging presentation. Visualization is incredibly powerful, so give that one a go too. The fourth strategy I want to share is the micro pause routine. In other words, take a couple of minutes every few hours throughout the day to just pause, to slow down your breathing and consciously reset. It's a little check-in with yourself, but it can very quickly reduce any cumulative stress throughout the day. So, for example, if you have a desk job, you're sat at your desk a lot of the day, or if you're in meetings, in and out of meetings, just take a couple of minutes between those meetings or between calls, or every hour and a half or 2 hours, maybe get up, take a walk, get a drink, a cup of tea or coffee, take a comfort break, go have a quick chat with one of your colleagues, just get up from the desk, just relax, take a couple of deep breaths and step away. Because as I said, it creates that break. It's like a pattern interrupt, we call it in NLP, from a constant challenge and stress and those difficulties that we can often face in the workplace, and just breaks it up a bit, so it doesn't just become you sitting there all day and it's just building and building and building and building. Have that micro pause, as we call it, where you can just slow down your breaths, take 2 or 3 deep breaths and relax your physiology. And finally, the fifth strategy is your sleep and your morning routine, something you may have heard spoken about before, whether by myself or by others. It's establishing a morning practice, which involves a little bit of breath work or meditation. So if you're someone that meditates, or just, again, sit on the edge of your bed as you wake up and just take 3 slow, deep breaths. Remember the 4-2-6 breathing. Breathe in for 4, hold for 2, out for 6. As an example, is something you could do first thing in the morning. Just sets you for the day ahead, because you might wake up and think, oh my God, I've got a really stressful day, I've got all these things to do, these meetings and whatever, and it's like, okay, let's just sit on the edge of the bed, breathe a few times and just ground yourself and reset. As I said, it can set a more composed, calm tone for your day ahead. And high quality sleep, it seems to be talked about everywhere at the moment, is high quality sleep is important as a foundation to manage a regulated state. Why? Because if you think about it, if you wake up and you're really exhausted, you're tired, how do you operate? Where are you operating from? Are you calm? Are you feeling in control? Or everything's like stressy, last minute, panicking, anxious, and then that stress level just goes higher. So again, sleep is important. And even if you wake up and you're exhausted, okay, sit on the bed and just do that breathing for a few minutes. So those are some strategies that you can incorporate into your day to manage your stress levels. Just a quick recap of this breathing. There's your awareness of your body language, how you're carrying yourself. So if you're stressed, you don't want to be carrying yourself with hunched shoulders and head looking down and a grumpy face, right? You want to shoulders back, head up, smile, take a few deep breaths. You'll feel more confident. You'll kind of what's what I'm looking for? Like, take back some level of control or feeling of control, and you'll enter into situations, whether it's a meeting, a conversation, or just sitting down at your laptop to complete some work, from a much better state. Visualization, really, really powerful tool. The micro pause, so stepping away from your desk maybe for a couple of minutes throughout the day, just take a couple of breaths. And your morning routine, again, to just set yourself for the day. So those are the strategies that you can incorporate on a daily basis. If you find that overwhelming, just pick one. I'd recommend the breathing to start with, and then add to it. So each week, maybe add one more, add the visualization, add the body language the following week. Think about the micro pause routine. Pick the easier ones first and start to integrate them, so they become just part of your natural behavior throughout the day. And then the ones that you find I've got to really think about them, you can add them towards the end. So maybe week 4 or 5. Just keep it really simple. Baby steps, as I always say. Okay, so that's the topic of today. Managing your state helps you to manage your stress and to give you that level of authority, credibility, enhanced presence within the workplace, amongst your colleagues and your management, and also positions you well if you're looking to step into leadership. Somebody who can manage emotions, difficult situations and challenges easily. Until next week, same time, same place. Have a great rest of the week. Remember to harness your potential, elevate your performance, and commit to always achieving greater personal growth so you can show up continually as the best version of yourself. Take care, have a good week, and I will see you very, very soon. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already done so. And if you enjoyed and gained value from today's episode, then do please leave a review telling us your key learnings and what you enjoyed the most. And do please share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can spread the word on life leadership, creating a life of choice, freedom, and new possibilities. Connect with me directly on LinkedIn, and if you would like to learn more about how we can work together, either DM me on LinkedIn or email me. All details and resources can be found in the show notes.